Hello economics students. So in this video we're going to look at how the ABS measures the labour force, and basically here what we need to be able to do is to remember our formulas for the participation rate, the unemployment rate and the underutilization rate, which are just all those classifications that we looked at in the last video but expressed as a percentage. So we need to be able to calculate these, and because we've got a calculator we just need to plug the data into our calculator using the formula and we will be fine. So let's get into it. The first one is the unemployment rate. Again, here what we're trying to understand is what is the percentage of the total labour force who are classified as unemployed, which means they are looking for a job but do not have 1 hour of work per week. How do we work that out? Well, we just take the amount of unemployed persons, 5 let's call it, and we divide it by the total labour force. Let's say that there was 5 unemployed plus 95 employed, which would give us 5 divided by 100. So there's 100 in the total labour force, which equals 5%. Okay, and that's effectively what the ABS does when it reports on the unemployment rate. So when it says the unemployment rate is 3.6% this month, that's the exact formula it's using. So that's the unemployment rate. The next one is the participation rate, and in this calculation what we're really trying to understand is what percentage of the total working age population is participating or is in the labour force, so either employed or unemployed. So again, remember in the last video we said we had 95 employed people, we had 5 unemployed, which gives us a labour force of 100 people, and let's assume that the working age population was 200. Well, what do? We take 100 and we divide it by 200, which gives us a participation rate of 50%. Quite a low participation rate. What does that tell us? Well, it says of this working age population, how many people are participating? Half of them. Half of them are either employed or unemployed. And I might go back to the chart from the first, or the little graph from the first video. So really what we're trying to understand here is what percentage of this working age population is in the labour force, and we worked out roughly 50% of those are over here in the labour force, which means the other 50% are not in the labour force. And the unemployment rate before was trying to work out of this total labour force what percentage are in this group over here unemployed, and we worked out that about 5% of the labour force was what we call unemployed. The final one we need to think about is the underutilization. Excuse me as I go the wrong way. Is the underutilization rate. And this is really a much better measure of capacity, or the true spare capacity in the labour market. So again, the ABS is trying to work out what's going on in the labour market. Is there wasted labour? Are resources sitting around and not being used who could be working more hours? How close to capacity are we? How close are we likely to, how long until we are likely to see inflationary pressures? So how do we get a better understanding of that? Well, we use the underutilization rate. And what that does is that adds the underemployed persons to the unemployed persons. So let's say we had, again, 5 unemployed persons, and of those 95 that were employed, 10 of them would actually like to have more hours. So there's 10 underemployed, 5 unemployed, and the labour force is still 100 because it's 95 plus 5, which gives us an underutilization rate of 15%. So the labour market is underutilized by 15%. That's how we calculate the underutilization rate. Now, sometimes it comes up, the relationship between unemployment and the participation rate. It's important to think that if the participation rate increases, usually that will be met with an increase in the unemployment rate as well, because as those people move from being not in the labour force to in the labour force, which is what would increase the participation rate, they usually start out being unemployed while they search for a job. The idea is in the longer term, they get a job and the unemployment rate decreases and the participation rate goes up. That's what we want. Bit of an extension here because this one has come up a couple of times. The relationship between employment and the unemployment rate. So I want to ask you this question. How can there be an increase in the number of employed persons and an increase in the unemployment rate, given what we just went through with the unemployment rate? Pause and have a think, see if you can come up with something. The answer is that there would be an increase in the number of employed persons. So it might go from, I don't know, 5 to 10, but there'd be from 95 to 100, but there'd be a larger increase in the number of unemployed persons. So it might go from 5 to 10. And when we calculate it as a percentage, we find out that yes, there's more employed persons in the economy, but the unemployment rate has actually gone up, which is weird. So let me just take you over to my little, oh no, I didn't have it here. So if we were to calculate this, we're saying in the first instance, we increased the unemployment rate from, sorry, I had to pull up my spreadsheet here. So in March, let's say, the data that we went through in that video, 5 unemployed persons, 95 employed persons, which gives us an unemployment rate of 5%. Well, we said there's an increase in the amount of employed people, so maybe that goes to 100, but there's a larger increase in the unemployed persons, so maybe that goes to 10 unemployed persons. We've got more people in jobs, but the unemployment rate has actually increased from 5% to 9%. So keep an eye out for those questions. All right, hopefully that helps. Bye for now.